Hello and good evening to this live discussion session by Ecoholics. I'm Asawari and today we are going to discuss the variety of interesting questions that had appeared in the present question paper for UGC NET examination specifically for economics. Every time in this session of live discussion we try to bring up in Ecoholics a variety of interesting facts and variety of interesting questions as well as interesting concepts so that you can get a verse with all these very variety of questions right from the moderate level to a higher level of difficulty. And today also we are going to have a very informative session hopefully, and it would be very beneficial for you all. We are not just going to discuss about the various questions that had arrived in the past question paper for UGC NET economics, but we are also going to identify the linkages. Now this is very important when we try to focus on variety of questions that appear in the question paper. We normally as a student forget to arrive at the linkage. What is the linkage between one concept and another concept that might have appeared in the consequent question papers? So which is why it is very important to identify such type of questions and also draw some linkages. Now linkages are obviously going to help you every time whenever you are going to focus on one concept. So as I've always told you in variety of live sessions that it is very important for you all to make mind maps. So mind maps is very important, very difficult, but very necessary part of any person's life, whoever is preparing specifically for this type of an examination. Because you're going to qualify for an examination which is going to make you sufficient as an individual so as to apply for assistant professorship in any university or a college, which means you're going to be a teacher, an educator, and a mentor. And which is why it's very important for you to always make mind maps, and which is going to definitely help you also in retention of various concepts. So today also we are going to develop our understanding for a few questions that I have picked up from the last question paper for UGC NET examination. So let us begin with this discussion. Now, meanwhile, I'm also going to turn on my chat box so that I can also reply to the various questions that you might be wanting to ask, and which is of course going to definitely give you a little more information about what we do. Also, I would like to make sure that whether the audio as well as video is sufficient for you all. I hope that you all can listen to me as well as you can clearly see me. I would just like to have a nod from you all so that we can begin with this session and efficiently envelop a variety of facts and a variety of nice questions from this time's paper. Excuse me. All right. So a very good evening to one and all present here, and now let us begin with the discussion that we're going to start. So let me switch my screen to the PPT. Okay. Yes, a very good evening to each of you present here. Now, decoding some of these questions today. Let us begin. The very first question that I've picked up is very interesting, although it's very basic. But we must remember that these basic questions are also the key for you to understand that what type of basic questions can also appear in the future examination. So over here they have asked us which one of the following is not the objective of IMF. Now, as I was telling about mind maps, making mind maps is a very difficult task, but if you effectively in a routine practice making mind maps, then definitely it is going to help you a lot, a tons, in remembering a variety of facts and a variety of information, and also you're going to develop a lifetime retention power. Now over here we have been asked about which one of the following, which is given over here on the screen of the options, is not the objective of IMF, which means A, we should know that what are the objectives of IMF. B, we must also remember that this time International Monetary Fund, as in this type of international organizations objectives have been asked. So follow up can definitely be we can have a focus on World Trade Organization, WTO, we can have something like UNDP, we can have something like World Bank. You must very importantly observe the objectives, the prime objectives, the basic member countries, and maybe the headquarters of such international organizations. So this is how we develop linkages. From one question, we try to identify what other type of questions can also appear in the next examination. Now over here we have been provided with this question. So let us first find out the answer to this. Okay, I would like you all to also pull up your socks and also tell me in the chat box what do you think is the correct answer for this question. So which one of the following is not the objective of IMF? To promote international monetary cooperation, to ensure balanced international trade, to ensure exchange rate stability, to provide loans to private sector. Now, yes, Nitesh has over here given a correct answer. Actually, the correct answer is to provide loans to private sector is not the objective of IMF. So, according to the question, this is the correct answer. So, when we talk about International Monetary Fund, we must know what basic objectives would be of International Monetary Fund. It's a fund which is specifically to promote international monetary cooperation among various countries in the whole world, globally, and also to ensure balance in the international trade. Because everything that we trade or do not trade is of money. It is always in economics, whenever we learn anything, it is always in terms of money, and which is why, or in terms of some units or numerical. So which is why it is very important for us to remember the objectives of the various international organizations. Okay, this is specifically related to now I understand why few of you might have said B, because over here it's written international trade. So you must have been confused that probably this would be an objective of World Trade Organization. Okay, I totally understand what went wrong when you said B, but do not be impulsive in giving your answers. Why? Because over here we can also find something which is totally incorrect. To provide loans, fine, to the private sector. Never. Now private sector, public sector is a concept. We always segment this concept in a domestic periphery, which means inside a country, and which is why this concept is totally wrong with respect to the other concepts which are given, right? And which is why the correct option, which means the concept that to provide loans to private sector, is not an objective of IMF. Now following up this question, I also have a few things for you all. Now let us also discuss some of the objectives of World Trade Organization and the World Bank. Now of course there are many more, plenty objectives of variety of other things as well, okay, other international organizations as well, but I would also like you all to focus on those objectives. Okay, so all right. Now let us first look at the objectives of World Trade Organization. Now it's World Trade Organization definitely means that it would be indicating trade facilitation. Trade facilitation. That is the first thing, of course, globally. Specifically to all the member countries, and there are also a variety of things, a variety of trade organization which offer easy trade to even non-member countries. So facilitation of trade globally is one of the major objectives, and then there are a few others as well. Now this for these specific objectives, you do not have to go anywhere, hinder anywhere. These are easily available on their official websites. Whenever you want any information regarding the core objectives, core impact, headquarter, please make sure that you go to the official website of anything. It is authentic resource, and it is obviously going to give you the most optimum information. Also, many a times these variety of competitive examinations have statements directly taken up from the official website's page, because they have these phrases which would not be found in any other websites. Okay, for example, progressive liberalization. Now this phrase has been specifically used by World Trade Organization's page, right? So please make sure that whenever you develop your understanding and make notes on specifically international organizations, make effort to go to their official pages and draw some information from there itself, right? Now in this, the main objectives are achieving progressive liberalization of trade and services, okay, ensuring flexibilities for developing countries with special priority to be given to the least developed countries. Now over here again, World Trade Organization tries to facilitate trade not just to the developed and even the developing or emerging countries, because of course the revenue lies there, but also the least developed countries, because it's World Trade Organization, right? And respecting the needs of small and medium-sized service suppliers, particularly in the developing countries, with a commitment to respect the existing structure and principles of GATS. Okay, now over here, what is GATS, how was it found, and everything. These are small hints that you're going to get. Okay, what are the mandates? These are some things that you need to search about so that you are better prepared for the next competitive examination, and of course the next examination that appears for UGC NET. Okay, similarly we have even World Bank. Now this statement I have totally picked up from the official website itself. The World Bank says, what do? The World Bank Group works in every major area of development, financial products, and technical assistance. And we help countries share and apply innovative knowledge and solutions to challenges they face. So many objectives they have. Now in this paragraph itself, we have found 5 objectives which can easily appear. Now out of these 5, something totally different is given in the question, then definitely you can understand that that is not the objective of World Bank. Okay, so this is how you decipher core terms and concepts from a broad array of information. Okay, now let's move to the next question. Now this is a very simple one. Absolute income hypothesis explains. What does absolute income hypothesis explain? Please tell me in the chat box. What does absolute income hypothesis explain? Yes, I would like to hear from you all. So all right, so absolute income hypothesis, let us look at this. Now when we talk about the absolute income hypothesis, we always look at the variety of income hypotheses which are given by different people. So let us say absolute income hypothesis had been given by J.M. Keynes, right? And then yes, so over here we have Altaf and Barsharani and Mohini, Raj, Gurung, Vishal, sorry, Vishal has given the wrong answer, Prashant, all of you have given the correct answers. So correct answer over here is absolute income hypothesis explains consumer behavior. Now this concept you're going to learn in macroeconomics segment, okay, wherein variety of income hypotheses are given. Now there are majorly 4 income hypotheses that we talk about in the consumer behavior. We talk about absolute income hypothesis, then we have relative income hypothesis. Okay, relative income hypothesis is given by J. Duesenberry. Okay, and then you have the third one, which is life cycle hypothesis. You must have heard the terms which are known as Rache effect and demonstration effect. So both of these terms are a very integral part of relative income hypothesis. Okay, then you have life cycle hypothesis. Life cycle hypothesis is again another type of consumer behavior income hypothesis which has been given by technically 3 economists. So we have Franco Modigliani and we have Albert Ando, and then we have Richard Broomberg. Okay, and the last final income hypothesis is known as PIH, which is the permanent income hypothesis, which has been given by Milton Friedman, who is also said to be the proponent of monetarism. Okay, so this is how we have developed again another linkage. So this was just one question. Now normally what happens is whenever you learn any question or whenever you look at the question paper and answer sheet and then you identify, okay, this was the correct answer. But what next? What do you need to do after you find the correct answer of a particular question? You need to draw linkages. So how many types of income hypotheses are there? Who have given them? What exactly are they? And what are the key terms in those income hypotheses? This is how you're going to draw linkages. Okay, so I hope this question is clear to you all. Now let us quickly move to the next question in this segment. Okay, now I'm going to draw a diagram over here. I have purposely not drawn it so that we can just look at the diagram at once. So this diagram has been given in the question paper itself. Okay, so we have x-axis and y-axis, right? And on x-axis we have good x, and on y-axis we have representation of good y. So there are 2 goods, right? Now we have been asked about income consumption curve, which is also known as ICC curve, right? This is a very of microeconomics. Okay, advanced microeconomic theory is going to give you such type of very important and very significant questions and concepts. Now they have drawn a diagram something like this. So it starts from origin and then it's something like this. Okay, and over here there's written ICC, and this is on the very peak of this curve we have point A. Okay, and this is 0, origin. Now in this question they have asked for the given income consumption curve, which is ICC, which one of the following is correct. So we have to identify out of these 4 concepts which one is correct. Now whenever good X and good Y are given in terms of income consumption curve, we must remember that we have been asked about a very important topic, which is substitution. We have been asked about substitution effect and income effect. Now over here they have given income consumption curve. Okay, so our main focus is on the income effect. They have given 2 goods, good X and good Y. Now good X and good Y, whenever they are given on two axes, x and y, and when there is income effect that we have to look at, we always look at the income consumption curve and where it is bending. Okay, wherever it is going to bend, that is going to identify with us what type of commodity it is. Now there are a few students over here, Ajay, Altaf, Barsharani and Sudarshan. I'm sorry if I take your names incorrectly because I do not have any pronunciation over here, but still I'm hopeful that I'm taking the right name. Yes, so all of you have given an answer which is B. Now the purpose why these students have selected the answer B is because according to the income consumption curve concept, and when income consumption curve actually tells about the income effect. So when we talk about an ICC curve, where whenever it slopes backwards against one axis, so there are two axes, x axis and y axis. Okay, whenever it is sloping backward against one axis, then that is going to be stated as the axis from which it is going backward is going to be stated as the axis where the good is inferior. Okay, so if for example over here we have an income consumption curve, until point A it is going upwards and after point A it is going backwards. Now this backward sloping is against this y-axis. It is sloping backwards against y-axis, and which is why good y is going to be stated as an inferior good, while good x is a normal good. Yes, even Mustaqim and Maudul Haq have also given the correct answer. Right, so very well appreciated to all these students who have given the correct answer. Now the concept over here that you need to also draw linkages upon is what is substitutionally can be represented by inferior good or a normal good. For example, for inferior goods the income effect is negative. Okay, so income effect is negative. Negative means there is an inverse relationship between the income and the commodity that has been demanded for, right? So over here from this concept and this diagram we can very well identify that good y is inferior while good x is a normal good. Over here if the diagram would have been something, I'm going to draw with another color so that it's more understandable. So if the diagram would have been something like this, okay, if the ICC curve would have been something like the curve in blue, so we would have said that x, now then A as an option would have been correct, that commodity x is inferior while good y is normal because of the backward sloping ICC curve against this axis. Okay, so this is another way in which it can be asked. All right, correct. So now moving on to the next concept. Yes, so correctly stated by Altaf, as I have stated that income effect is negative for inferior goods, so definitely it would be positive for the normal goods. Means substitution effect and income effect both flow in the same direction when we talk about normal goods, right? You'll have more income, you'll purchase more of a normal good, but if there's an inferior good that you're consuming, if you'll have more income, definitely you will be switching to a normal good rather than buying more of an inferior good. That is what it means. Okay, now moving on to the next one. Okay, now we have over here another very important we have over here another very important concept. So I'm going to draw another diagram over here, okay, and then we are going to look at this question. So let me first read up this question. Based on the following Blaker stages of population growth diagram. Now Blaker, now we are talking about demography or population studies, the segment from which this concept has been taken. Blaker, as in C.P. Blaker, has been a very famous, prominent economist who has done a lot about population theory and in this demography concept, population studies concepts, and the very famous 5 stages have been given by C.P. Blaker. So on those 5 stages only this diagram had been given. Okay, so let me first draw the diagram. I know that some of you already know the answer to this question because you must have given the exam. Okay, but for many others, I would first prefer to draw the diagram. So diagram is something like this. Okay. Okay, something like this. On this point you have A, and then on the corner you have B, and then you have C, and then this one is D. Okay, this is what the diagram suggests. On the x-axis you have time. Okay, and on the y-axis, on the y-axis you have the mortality and fertility rates, which means the birth rate as well as death rate. Fertility rate can also be stated as birth rate and more as death rate. Okay, now according to C.P. Blaker, he has given the 5 types of transitions, and they start from the high stationary, then it goes to stationary, then you have the early expanding, okay, and then low stationary, and then you have diminishing. Okay, so now many of you are giving me questions in this answers in this particular for this particular question. Okay, now most of you are on the answer A. Alright, let us look this question very clearly now. Let us look at this question clearly. C.P. Blaker's 5 stages of population growth. Now we have to identify the portion between B and C. So we have to tackle to this portion over here. Okay, now if we faintly make some stages, okay, now definitely the position B over here would tell us this is, and this is the last one. So we have something known as population declining. Okay, there are people who are saying that the population is declining. Population is declining, why? Because we have the, so this is the birth rate and this is the death rate. Okay, and it's gradually declining. Okay, now actually according to these stages, the correct answer which has been provided is early expanding. Okay, so the correct answer to this question is early expanding, because we have actually divided the segments into 5 and then we try to allocate what exactly fits in B and C. Also, when we talk about the stages, we have been asked about the stages. So in the stages, there is nothing known as population declining. Okay, this has been just given for you to trick you into thinking that yes, population is definitely declining. But actually, when you look at the statements over here, statements, late expanding, early expanding, stage of low stationary. Now stage of low stationary actually is the second to last stage. So definitely we are at the early expanding stage. Okay, so this is how you have to identify which exactly stages. See, many a times a question can be confusing. Why they'll put a confusing question? Because of course this examination is not easy, right? This is not a piece of cake, but it is definitely going to be a very informative one if you have that kind of concept and you can draw a linkage. You know, if you know that CP Blaker has given 5 stages or 4 stages or whatever, but you have to also incorporate those stages to this diagram and then identify, acha, this stage was there, but this stage has not been there. This is a questionable stage. I have not seen this statement in the stage. Right? Even if you see a declining curve, but you must not predict impulsively the answer. That is what is our suggestion. Okay? So the correct answer is C, early expanding. Alright? I hope that it's clear to you all. Then the next one is again a very interesting one, which is transportation cost of trade effects. Now transportation cost is simple to understand. Transportation cost means when commodities are traded, there is of course a transportation cost which is involved, right? And we of course need to know whether the transportation cost is more or less, right? If it's over the board, it's very high, then definitely that commodity or service is not fit for trading, because if more of the transportation cost has to be paid by the owner, then what is the use, right? So transportation cost of trade has a few impact or effects. Now what are those effects? We have to find that out. They have given, now again there's a vague statement that has been given over here. Pattern of trade, boundaries between tradable and non-tradable goods, global supply chains and boundaries of non-tradable goods. Now first of all, let us understand difference between tradable and non-tradable goods. According to the concept of international economics, tradable means something that can be traded, something that can be exchanged. Goods or services which can be exchanged across the borders would be tradable in terms of international economics, and vice versa. The non-tradable goods and services are going to be those which cannot be exchanged beyond the boundaries of the domestic territory, right? So we have now 4 things. Pattern of trade. Pattern of trade means the design. Pattern, by pattern you understand the design of trade. How is the trade? Is the trade done very often, or is it a seasonal trade? What kind of trade exists between 2 countries? Okay, what commodities are traded between 2 countries? Is it a seasonal trade that exists, or is it like a give and take process which happens every now and then, right? Then you have global supply chains. Global supply chains are of course very important. Supply chain mechanism dwells on the concept of transportation cost also as a major component, because it is only because of the transportation cost that you're going to predict how effective are going to be the supply chains and the supply chain mechanisms. So of course this is one of the very important component. And then the 4th one is just a loosely given concept known as boundaries of non-tradable goods. Okay, right? So when we talk about now boundaries of non-tradable goods means what? A country that has some goods which cannot be traded from one location to the another location, okay, or from one country to another. Now these are non-tradable goods that we're talking about. These are not going to be heavily used in the, or these goods are not going to have a heavy transportation cost anyways, right? Because they are non-tradable. So which is why the correct answer to this question becomes point number 2, which is A, B and C. Okay, so even if you do not know exactly what transportation cost is, but still you know what transportation is, you know what cost is, and you know what trade is, right? Trade can be domestic or international trade. Transportation cost will be all the cost that is involved from transiting one commodity from one place, one location to the other location. It can be domestically involved, it can be internationally involved. Now, what all things are going to be impacted? Of course, these three things are going to be definitely impacted, right? And when we talk about boundaries of non-tradable goods, it's of course it's a vague concept, and non-tradable goods we know that are not heavily dependent on the transportation cost as a component. So definitely the answer is point number 2. A, B and C are correct answers, right? And yes, Altaf has again given the correct answer. Very good, right? Okay, so let us now go ahead. Okay, now this is again a very interesting question. Seigniorage. Now, seigniorage in banking terms, this is a concept which is totally related to money and banking. Okay, and in money and banking part, and also you can learn it in the if you learn it in the deficit financing part in public economics also you can learn this. But this term is very important. Now they have just asked you the definition, okay? So now what does this mean? If such type of terms are coming in the examination, then what is going to what does it mean? How can you draw linkages now? You can talk about the various concepts like crowding out, okay? You can talk about quantitative easing. You can talk about various such types of concepts, stagflation. These types of concepts can definitely arrive as a certain definition. You just have to identify that correctly, and there goes your answer and 2 marks, right? Okay, so the seigniorage in banking means the economic cost of providing a currency within a given economy, the difference between the face value of money and cost of providing it, the cost involved in running ATMs, the cost of making debit or credit cards in an economy. Now, yes, I would like to hear some answers from you all. Yes, Altaf over here has given the correct answer. Mohini, Vinay, no. Vinay's answer is okay. So, yes, the correct answer is given by Vinay this time. Yes, Vinay has given the correct answer. There have been 5 students who have given the answer right now. Okay, for all the students who would like to, get notes or anything like that, you can always log on to the website of Ecoholics, or you can always go to the queries section of Ecoholics, where you can find our contact details, email ID and everything. You can type in your query if you want any study material, something like that, and we would give you the correct information about it, okay? Wherever you can download it or wherever you can get it. Okay, now yes, the correct answer has been given by Vinay over here. The correct answer is the economic cost of providing a currency within a given economy, and also the difference between the face value of money and the cost of providing it. So the correct answer is A and B, right? Now, seigniorage basically is what? The difference between the face value of money, which means whatever is on the currency note. For example, if the currency note says 2000, and for printing one 2000 note, if the government has to it costs government, let's say 20 rupees, okay? So which means that the seigniorage, or the money that has been the revenue that has been generated through printing of such type of currency, is going to be how much? How much is 2000 minus 20? Yes? So this is what is the revenue that has been generated by government by printing one 2000, because then it is going to be multiplied by how much the printing has been done. Okay, so very good. Many students are giving the correct answers, and even if you're not giving the correct answer, it's okay, because right now we are just going to discuss. This is the discussion time where we can use as much of this time to learn more information and more concepts in a better way. Okay, so the aim of all the discussions is not to judge who has given the correct answer or who has given the wrong answer, but to also make sure to give you the basic concepts of each of the terms and each of the questions that we actually discuss about. Now let us move forward. Now this is the last question for today. This is the last question for today. Now let us quickly do this question. What type of relationship exists between two variables if all points on the scatter diagram appear to fall on a straight line going upward from the left to right? Now they have not given any diagram over here. Now you have to either make a mental picture, but I would suggest that any time when any type of a question appears when there is no diagram given, but you can actually make a diagram. So do make this diagram, because you have the liberty of the page that you have been provided with, right? So use that white page that you have been given judiciously and draw most of the things, whether they are related to international economics or demand and supply, anything like that. Make sure that you draw the diagram, so it would be more clear. Now while reading this one by one, what type of relationship exists between two variables if all points on the scatter diagram, which means we are talking about correlation, right? So scatter diagram appear to fall on a straight line going upward from left to right. Now if you just see scatter diagram and left to right, if you read very quickly, you are bound to say positive correlation. Why? Because the image in your mind after reading this very quickly will be what? That yes, there's a scatter diagram that you will draw, and this is something like this. Okay, so yes, probably this is going to be the ideal diagram, and yes, it's flowing from left to right, so definitely it's positive correlation. However, they have mentioned that they are falling on a straight line, so it's perfect positive correlation, because all of the points are falling on that straight line, and straight line left to right upward would definitely be saying perfect positive correlation. Yes, now Vinay, Shilpa and Barshini have given the correct answer to this. Yes, definitely it's the correct answer is B right now. And yes, I'm going to tell you why it's not positive correlation. Positive correlation just would mean that on the scatter diagram is something like this. So wherein you would be looking at few scattered points, but they would not be making a line, okay, a linear line. They would be scattered but flowing in the upward direction from left to right. Similarly, if you want to understand the concept of negative correlation, in the negative correlation, the same thing is going to happen from left to right, but it would be downward sloping. So you will have on a scatter diagram something which would represent like this, which means there will be like a patch of scattered points which are going to flow from left to right but downward sloping. That is going to represent the negative correlation, and perfect negative correlation definitely is going to be like a straight line from left to right downward sloping. That would be perfect negative correlation, something that we call also as inverse relationship between two variables, right? And right now the answer to this question is perfect positive correlation. Okay, so that represents this particular part of this question. All right, so Here we end with these variety of questions that we have taken today. I hope that this session was fruitful to you all, and I hope that you all got some insights to a variety of questions that we had taken. Make sure that the few points that I've told about mind maps and linkages, drawing linkages of whatever questions and concepts that you read is very, very important. Not just marking the correct answer and the wrong answer, but also analyzing what can come in the next question paper is also very, very important. So thank you so much for this discussion for today. It was wonderful with all of these students who were interacting today, and we are going to see you all soon in the coming up weekends with more of such questions and more of such live discussions, and also some of the live discussions on some other topics related to UGC NET examination. And thank you so much. Have a very good night, and take care of yourselves and your families. Bye bye.